Hello everybody and welcome to Whiz, your family-friendly podcast where we discuss D&D Onslaught, Dice Masters, Heroclix, and the other entertaining games made by WizKids. I'm WizDad, and I'm here to help you untangle those Christmas lights. That's it, just twist it to the right. Okay, now put the end through the loop. Alright, well, you almost had it. I will be your guide for navigating the competitive and casual scenes of the WizKids Triforce of gaming. It's Mashup Monday. Today we are talking about all the gifts and goodies you should get that special someone for Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate. Before that though, let's check out the WizKids Progress Report.
Kowalski, progress report.
I feel like I say this every week at this point, but because we're in the off season of a lot of these games, there's honestly not a lot to talk about in the Progress Report. We still don't have any erratas for the Wheels of Vengeance set. It's getting to the point where it's getting not irritating, but a little bit, right? Because we've gotten a lot of figures out, and some of them need some fixes. Some of them need some changes because they don't work as they're supposed to. But maybe that means we just need more tournaments in order to have that happen. And we are entering, once we get through December, hit January, that's when things will start ramping back up into the next competitive season. We did just have PAX Unplugged. Now, there's no announcement yet on who won the PAX Unplugged Onslaught tournament. Now, WizKids was at PAX Unplugged. They did have a store there. They sold a bunch of stuff. They didn't have any Dice Masters or Heroclix tournaments. I think they had Heroclix like Battle Royales going. That was about it. But they did have an Onslaught tournament. One of the key tournaments to get one of the Chaos Emeralds, as I call them. The big gems that they hand out. I don't know. I don't know who. I know it's either somebody by the name of Patrick or Corey. Those are the two people that I see in the Discord that were named in the finals. Unfortunately, Onslaught is not recorded in the win, so I can't just go out there and look it up. But hopefully by Wednesday, I'll have a better answer on who won, so that way I can announce it. If not, WizKids will also announce it. But congratulations to everyone that showed up to PAX Unplugged. I wish I could have gone. It looked like it was a ton of fun. But traveling to Pennsylvania and doing that a couple weeks before Christmas, which is tough, right? Like, gotta save that money to get Christmas presents. It's hard to, unless you live nearby, it's hard to justify going to that. But once again, congratulations to anybody who went. Outside of that, once again, don't forget on Wednesday, the 6th, you have the Royal Flush Gang Storyline OP Kit and the Marvel HeroClix Spider-Verse OP Kit, the monthly OP. Those should be released. Your local probably already has them. If not, they'll get them this week. And once again, like I've explained before, my local, sometimes we get it the week they're supposed to release. Sometimes we get it early. Sometimes we don't get it until we have a bigger order come through. So check with your local, see what you get out there. I will say, from looking at the cards, the Spider-Verse OP kit, which is a monthly OP, is okay. Fun for some casual play. The Royal Flush Gang remains to be seen. I know Ace, the Legacy Ace card that comes with it, is very good. The actual Royal Flush figures, I have not tried playing them in person yet, because I don't have them, obviously. But they do some interesting mechanics, so we'll see. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, outside of that, there's really not much else happening at this point. Dice Master fans, I hate to say it, still nothing on the House of X front. Still haven't seen anything, and I'm sorry that I've kind of adjusted my the way I do things here from Dice Master Monday to basically Mashup Monday. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot to talk about. There's not a ton of tournaments happening. It was announced yesterday, the Breath Weapon X Fest BWXF, essentially 7, will be held on January 20th, and it'll be the XL format for Dice Masters. XL format meaning you have to build a team with the following parameters: 10 character non-basic action cards instead of 8, 24 character non-basic action dice instead of 20, 3 basic action cards instead of 2, 12 sidekick dice instead of 8, 30 life instead of 20, draw and roll 6 dice per turn instead of 4, and player 1 will draw 6 but only roll 5, with the 6 going straight out of play for their first turn. This will be once again online. I have not participated in one of these. I might try January 20th. I think I could do January 20th actually, and if it's online, I might try joining that one and seeing how it goes. That could be fun. So if you're interested in playing some Dice Masters with me or wanting to get into Dice Masters, it is online. So definitely check it out, the BWXF 7, which is on January 20th. Also, don't forget that the Champion Clicks event is also in January in Florida. It is, I believe, the last weekend in January. It's what I consider the kickoff to the competitive season of Heroclix. So check out Champion Clicks on Facebook to see more information. And with that, let's get to our fishing segment where we will talk about, I guess what I'm naming like Christmas season, like what you should get someone who is interested in playing any of these games. So if you've played Heroclix, Onslaught, Dice Masters, what you should be buying someone to get them into the game. Or if you know someone who enjoys these games or any WizKids product, what you should be buying for them for Christmas to kind of help, continue their hobby. Maybe they are a little embarrassed to ask. I guess you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't a fan of some of this, but let's talk about it in the fishing segment.
Get your gear, little man. We're going fishing. And I mean now.
So essentially what I wanted to talk about in this episode, or this session of Fishing with WizDad, is talking about like what I would get somebody who enjoyed these WizKids games for Christmas. I know Christmas, especially when you get older, you're thinking about spending for others, how you could get someone for get presents for somebody. And it always feels awkward for some people, right? Especially if you're not inundated into the nerd geek culture. But I find people who enjoy these type of hobbies some of the easiest people to purchase presents for. Because who is going to say no to another set of dice? Who's going to say no to some cool minis? To a booster of HeroClix? To, even a booster pack of, or a draft pack of Dice Master? Who's going to say no to any of those? Because I would be happy with any of that for Christmas, to be honest. And I know there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way. So what I would do is let's talk a little bit about where to buy some. Say that you have some friends who play HeroClix, you only play Dice Masters, you're looking to get into Onslaught, and you want to get your friends involved too. Christmas presents is a great way to get someone into your hobby, especially if as long as they've shown interest. Obviously, if they're not into, miniature gaming or something like that, don't just go start buying them a brick of HeroClix. They'll be very overwhelmed quickly. But definitely, if you've got some friends who play like Magic or play Warhammer or something like that, and they've expressed interest in HeroClix, or if they play D&D and they've shown interest, you think they'd be good into Onslaught. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about what presents to get for those people. Now, obviously, most of what you need can be found on the WizKids store itself. That should be kind of your last option, to be honest. The reason I say that is because the WizKids shop does MSRP. Sometimes they do a little bit above MSRP because they are not trying to directly compete with mom and pop local gaming stores. They've mentioned that before when they launched this site. I guess right before COVID. So I guess 2019 or so, that this store was not made to compete. It was made to supplement for areas that may not have a local gaming store that sells some of these products. So while you may be able to find what you're looking for on the WizKids store, I do not recommend that being your first stop. Unless, of course, you're going for some of the current deals now. Now, I've mentioned this before. They've got, and I better make sure it's still going. They still have the Bricksmiths sale. It is going for It actually doesn't say when it ends, so I assume it ends pretty quickly, or pretty in the next week or so. But don't forget that there's like the Bricksmith sale, which actually is a really good deal because you're effectively getting 2 bricks for 170, which is, and 2 modern bricks, I should say. For a reminder, the Bricksmiths bundles are, if you get a Wheels of Vengeance, Spider-Man Beyond. If you get a Wheels of Vengeance, you get Spider-Man Beyond Amazing for free. So you get both of those bricks, 1 brick of both, for $169.90. The next bundle is Batman Team Up and Notorious, and then the last one is Avengers 60th and Avengers Forever. Keep in mind, you do have taxes you will have to pay, obviously, and I do know from experience, sometimes the WizKids store shipping can be pretty pricey, like $20 or more. So you're looking probably closer to over $200 for 2 bricks, which is still a great deal, right? $100 a brick is especially a modern legal brick. Who, remember, MSRP is the $169. Fantastic deal. So that would be the extent that I would try to go spending on the WizKids store, unless there was a promo you really wanted. But I would try elsewhere for other things. Some other places you could buy product from. If you really want to make sure you're going through WizKids, I mentioned this on a previous episode, don't forget that WizKids does have a store on Amazon. So you will get the Prime deals, so that means you can avoid having to pay the $20 for shipping. They do have a lot of stuff on Amazon if you're interested. I will say not all of it is a good deal. Some of it's not on sale. For example, you could get a brick of Avengers 60th for $137. That's okay. A little bit, cheaper than the WizKids store itself if you're just going by that. But it's not necessarily shipped by WizKids. They have a WizKids store in here, but some of it's not shipped by WizKids. Some of it's shipped by the other stores on here. I've had some really good luck finding Dice Masters on the Amazon store by WizKids. So I would try that out. You could still get some really good stuff out here. For example, there is the Secret Wars countertop display for $62. That's a pretty solid price. Looks like this is from Token Trade Games. I don't know how Amazon's really doing this. I guess it's sold by somebody else. And it's... that's a little tricky. Either way, though. Oh, here we go. The Dark Phoenix Saga countertop display. It is sold by WizKids. So I'm looking for sold by. Sold by WizKids, $61. That is a 23% off to get a countertop display for Dark Phoenix Saga. You know what? Your Dice Master friends would love to have some draft packs of Dark Phoenix Saga. I don't care who they are. Anybody would love to get some draft packs. They're fun. And it's a decent gateway to get people into the game. A pretty decent gateway is to buy those. Other stores you might want to look at online for purchasing some of this stuff. If you're looking at Heroclix specifically, I would obviously recommend Troll and Toad. Troll and Toad does deal with a lot of Heroclix. They are probably the premier, like the king of online Heroclix, at least as far as like availability and what they have. Now there's other stores, cool stuff. Collectibles has a lot of stuff. You could go on eBay and go to stores like Lucky Dice or Majestics. They also sell a bunch of Heroclix. That's more if you're wanting singles, I should say. Sealed product, you're probably better off just ordering through your local or do the Bricksmith sale. If we're talking specifically Heroclix, if you're looking to buy something for a Heroclix player, I would recommend probably the Bricksmiths, honestly. I mean, if you don't want to spend that much and you just want to get someone a couple boosters, Wheels of Vengeance is perfectly fine. Notorious is also perfectly fine. And I would just buy them some of the latest. Another good idea, and this is a little trickier, you have to make sure they don't already own it. But these Iconics figures are pretty neat. I just recently picked up the Hall of Armors Iconic set, and it is beautiful. The box is great. It looks fantastic. So This would require you to have some knowledge of what your HeroClix person or partner has, but if they have, they're missing an Iconics. Iconics are pretty awesome looking. So maybe pick up one. Those are a lot more affordable, and you know what? They look great on the shelf, even if they don't end up using them for like competitive purposes. Another thing to consider for HeroClix, since I'm kind of on a HeroClix tangent right now, you can look into other accessories for HeroClix. There are, I guess I should say, if you think of tokens, dice, so some unique D6s, a tray, some sort of carrying tray would be great. Even some storage containers. I don't think there would be many HeroClix players that would turn down getting more storage containers. Good storage containers that people would like is the Plano boxes, the tackle boxes. You could get those fairly cheap at like Academy or Bass Pro or stores like that. Just some of those Plano boxes, make sure they're big enough to hold a HeroClix, so don't make it where they're like really thin. But a decent sized one, you can even go to a Harbor Freight to get one, and they'd be pretty decent. No one's going to turn those down. You know, here's a box to store some HeroClix. Thanks, awesome. I would be thrilled with that. So if you don't want to buy the actual HeroClix themselves, go with accessories. Once again, custom dice if you want, or just some cool D6s. The game only uses D6s. That would be cool as well. You can't go wrong with that. For Dice Masters, you could go with a very cool customized dice bag. I know you can find some of those on Etsy, or you could go on the Discord, and I think there's a few people that sell and make dice bags. Those would be cool as well. You could also go with custom mats. I'm sure you're familiar, Magic, Pokemon, Lorcana, they all have their kind of custom dice mats. Dice Master does the same thing. There's a lot of Dice Master mats. You could just look online and they'll make it. Now, you're kind of close, 3 weeks, right? May not be getting it in 3 weeks if you do like a custom. But look out there if your friend has a huge Deadpool fan. There might be a Deadpool dice mat already out there that they just haven't bought for themselves yet. Great option for anybody that's looking into that. And those storage containers I was mentioning before, another great storage container for Dice Masters. Now, they don't need as many, but that is a perfectly fine present for someone that's into Dice Masters, I should say. For Onslaught, if you know an Onslaught player, if you know a D&D mini or a D&D dungeon master, then you probably can use the same ideas for an Onslaught player. I know as someone who plays Onslaught, I still have not figured out how to organize this game yet. I have a bunch of containers that I'm trying to work through and figuring out, is this the best way? But there's a lot of small pieces, and then there's the minis, but then there's bigger pieces. So trying to organize by faction, but then also organize by game pieces and expansions, it's a little confusing. So getting different storage containers, different storage options for your Onslaught friend would be most appreciated. Different D20s would be great as well. I believe the game uses primarily D20s, but they do, D6, D8 damage. There's different damages, or not damage. They mostly roll D20s in the game, but you can use dice, some of those little small dice to use as damage counters. I use that a lot also, as opposed to some of the other the little damage markers. So there's a lot of little utility things you could get Onslaught players. You could get some of the custom trays that you use to hold up like mini pieces of art. Those could be useful to hold up the dials, the cards for the characters as well. Now, outside of that, for Onslaught, you could also figure out, if you're really sneaky, what your friend plays. If they are primarily a Harper player, a Zentarum, a Sellswords, whatever, and you can go out onto the D&D Onslaught website. You could look up the proxy list and then see what minis they could use as a proxy, and just buy them some of those minis. It doesn't have to be fully painted. You could even paint it if you want it, if you're a painter. Uh, if you really want to be kind of like arts and craftsy, I know a lot of people, and myself included, I like making something more personal and doing crafts as a present. Like, oh, I painted this for you. I think that's a great present. And now that I'm thinking about it, I might need to write that down, because there's a few people I would do this for. Is figure out what they like play. And even if they don't play it all the time, buy one of those minis from WizKids, one of the proxies, and then paint it yourself. That'd be very inexpensive. The paint isn't that expensive, and the mini itself really isn't. If it's unpainted, it's probably less than $10. $10 and some time painting it, you gain some skills and work on your painting capabilities, and then you get them a really cool mini. And on top of that, if it's not just Onslaught and they also play just D&D, hey, do it for your D&D friends as well. Who wouldn't want more minis? Minis are great. I've got a backlog I need to paint. I've painted very sparingly, and I need to get back into it. So even for just if you're into D&D minis, who would not appreciate more D&D minis, especially if they're a dungeon master? You could go to different websites like Miniature Market, dndmini.com, I think is the one that WizKids owns. There's a lot of places to get minis nowadays, and there's a lot of Christmas sales. So don't be afraid to go out there to get some of those for your Onslaught players, your D&D players. There's a lot of options out there, and it gives a kind of a more personal feel to it, especially if there's a character they particularly like. You could kind of create your own mini with how they described them or something like that. The last thing I want to mention when it comes to sales, or at least what I would get somebody who was interested in the game, is let's talk a little bit about the different WizKids board games. I have not done that justice. I know I talk about it in the intro all the time of like, oh yeah, we talk WizKids board games, and I obviously don't do a good enough job about talking about WizKids board games. So let's talk about that now, shall we? So once again, almost all their board games are available on the WizKids website. They do now publish a lot of board games. I, once again, would recommend you do not necessarily go through the WizKids store. It is pricey, but there are some that I think you should pick up. If you're into Dungeons and Dragons, you don't want to play Onslaught, but you'd like a more cooperative type game as opposed to combative, the new Trials of Tempest game that came out a few months ago is pretty solid. I watched a demo for it. I don't own it because it's $100 as a standard edition, so it's a pretty pricey Christmas present. But it is very, very solid. If you're looking for something cheaper, a very good game that I do own is the Remix game. The Remix game is based on the Fantasy Realms game that was also kind of a WizKids function. Basically, you are... Here, I'll just read the description for it for you. That'll be easier for me. Players are dealt a hand of 7 cards representing characters, items, or places from throughout the Marvel Universe. Each turn, you'll draw from the hero deck, the villain deck, or the cards discarded by your opponents before discarding a card yourself. Cards have a base value and a bonus that changes based on the other cards in your hand. Whoever has the hand worth the most points at the end of the game is the winner. So it's a fairly simple game. It's like $20. I bet you could get it for cheaper. And so you're just trying to build kind of the best hand. And that's really it. That's really the game. It's fun. I've enjoyed it. It's definitely a good, like, especially if your friend is into board games, into Marvel. It's a solid little Marvel game made by WizKids that I think is great. The Fantasy Realm game, while I have not played it, I've heard great things about it. So I would suggest picking that up. It's quite affordable. If you're looking for something a little bit higher up to buy, higher up as in cost-wise, Damage Control is fairly recent as well. That's one where you're kind of cleaning up after. It's another Marvel-based game where you're kind of cleaning up after, destruction happens. I have not played it, but when I saw them talk about it at, I don't remember if it was Origins or where, it may have been last year, I thought it seemed like a really fun game to try. I might pick it up and try to do one as part of an episode, so we'll have to see. The last game that I will mention from WizKids, let's see, where did it go? It is a recent non-Marvel based game. It is very, very new, and I should mention also there's a lot of D&D games out here. They do have D&D based games published by WizKids that are pretty solid. Oh goodness, what was the name of the game? Let's see. One thing I will mention is if you have any of what's the name of it? Ollie's? That's the name of it. Ollie's is a bargain place. Basically, they buy Walmart and Target and stuff that have been like stored in their warehouse, and then they sell them for cheaper. A lot of places have Ollie's around. I don't know if it's a West Coast thing. I know we have them on the East Coast. Definitely check them out. Ollie's, especially recently, has somehow been getting WizKids products. So I've seen, for example, the Marvel Strike Team board game. I've seen that there, and I think I bought it actually, which was kind of like a Heroclix expansion, but not based in Heroclix at all, but uses the dial. I have seen that there for some reason for super cheap, and I've seen old sets of Heroclix, which is neat. The Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've seen. I've also heard that the Trinity War was out there as well. So check it out. Go to your Ollie's. I try to stop by every once in a while just to see if they have, any of that stuff available, because I think it is neat. The other board game that I wanted to mention that I've heard good things about is Jockmock, the Winter Market. It is a basically, it says the game board is lined with vendor stalls, each with a card representing its wares. Each turn, players will move their family members, claim the item at their current space, and then refill the stalls. Will you focus on gathering charming mementos? Will you enjoy the sights and sounds of winter in northern Sweden? There are many paths to victory and fun in Jockmock, the Winter Market. Collect the most valuable sets by game end to win. So it comes with a lot of game cards. There's a game board. I've heard really good things about Jockmock. It looks like a fun game. The art style is very interesting, appealing. It is only $34 on the WizKids store, but I bet you could get it elsewhere for cheaper. 30. I see 25 on Game Nerds. I could see it cheaper out there. It's got a 7.5 on Board Game Geek, which is good. That's kind of the area I prefer. If I'm buying a board game, I prefer it to be in the 7 and above range. So 7.5 is perfectly fine. So that's just a couple board games I would recommend. Once again, if you don't feel comfortable buying things for your person, don't force it. If it's your significant other, just a friend, someone you're trying to get in the game, don't brute force buying any of these just to get them to like your games. But if you're, trying to find something cheap and affordable, speaking of cheap and affordable, also don't do this for any of the Bad Santa games or something you might do at work. Like, I'm not saying get a box of Heroclix, a Heroclix booster, and bring it to your local your work Christmas party. But some of these board games, sure. You know what? If I was at a Christmas party and someone was handing out board games for their thing, I would love it. Board games are a fantastic gift in my opinion. I actually prefer giving board games out, because who would not like to spend time with their family playing games or friends or anything like that? So I know that was a little short, but I think that's going to do it for this episode of Mashup Monday. I really wanted to talk about where to buy product, what product you might want to get. I know it's a little, all over the place, but it's something I'm thinking about. I've got people in my life I would like to buy some of these different, some Dice Masters for or Onslaught for, and sometimes it's difficult to do so. So I hope I was helpful. On Wednesday, we'll do our Onslaught episode. I think we're getting close to being able to do a end of the year review for Onslaught and see where we end up. So we'll take a look at that. Until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, wonderful Tuesday, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.